Hey everybody, what's going on? Okay, I'm going to show you the game between Magnus Carlsen with the white pieces and with the black pieces, a player named Birkesson, who was rated 2164. And this is from round one of the Isle of Man tournament that just started today, September 23rd. Okay, so the game started out c4, knight f6, knight c3. So this player is black, is probably some kind of Nimzo Indian specialist. And I want you to know that white doesn't have to oblige. He can play e4 as Aronian did against Ding Liren in their first game of their match today. Notice how the d4 pawn stays put, so this pin would not be a pin. It would just be a irrelevant move in this position and easily met by e5. However, Magnus is a nice guy and allowed black to play what he wanted to play. So now we are in a Nimzo Indian defense. A couple of moves went on, and after b6, bishop d3, bishop b7, which is all theory, d5, c takes d5, e takes d5, and knight e5. And now here is a start of this main tabby of this line with b6. After knight bd7, white continues with f4. There's plenty of other moves here, but f4 is a very enterprising move. Also, c5 can be played here. Let me just say that basically, black usually attacks on the queen side, right, as his pawn structure would dictate. He plays moves like c5 and tries to expand with c4 if possible. In same spirit as, say, like the Tarrasch variation or Queen's Gambit decline, Mikhaganov Bondaresky variation, or the I forgot what it's called, TMB or something like that. But black has to be prepared to take on some pawn structure deficiency. In some lines, he'll take on hanging pawns, as you can see, could result from the move c5, or isolated pawns if he captures with the piece. So he has to be willing to deal with that because white does or will have pressure down the c file. And one of white's plans in this opening is to attack on the queen side. This opening system for white is very flexible because he can attack on both sides of the board, sometimes at the same time. With that knight on e5, it gives a lot of scope to and leeway to white as to what he wants to do. And then reinforcing it with f4 opens up the f file for the rook to advance to f3 and play this typical stonewall attack type setup where with the bishop on d3 and the rook roaming across the third rank and the queen possibly coming to g4 or h5 could be a short day at the office for black. Let me give you a quick example. In the game between Fabiano Caruana and Sergei Karyakin from the St. Louis Rapid in 2017, play continued. Instead of knight bd7 from black, c5. Now these moves are usually played, c5 is usually always played in position. It's just sometimes c5 is played first. Sometimes players prefer to develop a little bit more with knight bd7. It's just that if knight bd7 happens, then white will play f4, and that way it dissuades black from capturing because it would open up the f file and drive a defender away from the king side, thus exacerbating white's attacking chances on the king side. So Karyak can play c5 first, f4, knight c6, knight e2, and white's plan is to fight on the king side. So he's transferring this knight over and leaving this bishop kind of hanging. So now it forces black to make a decision about what to do because a3 is on the cards. So c4, common theme, bishop c2. And just note this can be dangerous in the ending because you have this 3-2 pawn majority for black on the queen side. And it'd be very dangerous to create a passed pawn. But of course, before the end game, the gods have placed the middle game, so you have to get there first. But this is a good investment to have in the bank. So bishop c2 was played, knight e7, and this knight is going to c8, knight g3, knight c8, and Caruana begins the attack. First, wants to remove this defender. Karyakin goes right back. Bishop is an excellent defensive piece on e7. And now Caruana rightfully attacks this dangerous spearhead here. Just wants to take some of the sting out of black's counterplay. Karyakin goes to d6, and we can see the concession that white makes by playing f4. But again, you have to balance everything. It's give and take in chess. You can't have everything. Knight takes f6, bishop takes f6. Bishop a3, x ran. So now this knight can't just, this knight can't just hop into e4. Bishop c8. Queen f3, nice move, attacking his pawn, so Karyakin goes back. This is a rapid game. And now bishop d3, a5, rook ac1, and you can see that Caruana is sort of playing on both sides of the board here. All right, but he's kind of making prophylactic moves here to stop black from having the counterplay that he desires on the queen side. Queen h3, threatening checkmate, of course. G6, a little weakness provoked. Knight d7, bishop goes back. Karyakin says, hey, that bishop is worth more than that rook. And let the games begin. f5. So you see what I'm talking about. Caruana kind of just bogged down white's counterplay on the king side and then just went wild on the opposite side of the board. So f5, a takes. The bishop hanging. What bishop? F takes g6. H takes g6. Still worried about that bishop? What bishop? Bishop takes g6. F takes g6, ripping the king side open. Queen e6, king to h7, and finally bishop takes, queen takes. So Karyakin says, relief, I get to trade these queens off. Nope. Rook f7 check, king h6, queen h3, king g5, g3. And you could get the point. And Karyakin had to call it a day because it is mate in short fashion. Okay, the only way to stop mate right immediately is just to do a computer move like queen to f6 or something like that. So, sorry for that little tangent, but I wanted you to see that plan in action for white. Okay, so that's one plan, that basic attack on the queen side. All right, now stay with me while I show you black's argument from the queen side. Now in the game, Wenjun Ju, Grandmaster 2574, and Rui Feng Li in the St. Louis fall tournament, black played bishop e7 first instead of even dealing with c5 or knight b d7. Just brought the bishop back and kind of sturdied up his defense first. Wu Feng played b3, Okay, and so anticipating this idea is c5, c4, c5, bishop b2, knight c6, knight e2, rook c8, rook c1, and notice how white's play is a little slower than last game. You see these moves like b3, bishop g2. Okay, so this gives black a chance to sturdy up his defenses a little bit. Knight f4, and then we see black's queenside counterplay. Queen e2, bishop d6. Again, now we see white playing on the queen side and trying to have his cake and eat it too. All right. So he's playing on the queen side and the king side, but the question is, does he have time to accomplish all of these things? c4 from Wen Jinju. There it is. That's what b3 was there for earlier. B takes c4, d takes, bishop c3. Some dynamic play here. Knight e4 from black. Bishop takes, b takes, rook fd1, c3. So you can see the argument from black. Black attacks on the queen side, right? And white usually attacks on the king side, but sometimes attacks on the queen side. Okay? But you have to be careful when playing on both sides of the board not to overextend your position. Game continue. Queen b7, c2. Uh-oh. Rook d3. Knight c3. Okay, now it's starting to get real critical here for black. Excuse me, for white. Knight c6. Rook takes c6. Queen takes, and now knight a2. White gives back the exchange. It's probably forced. a4, and black went on to win this game with this queen side, with these queen side pawns. All right. So now that you have like a basic, concept of what's going on, of course I could keep showing you examples, but like I said, we don't have all day, and I know sometimes the audience gets impatient because they want quick, 5-minute, analysis. But I like to look at these as chess lessons. So anyway, knight e5 is played, knight bd7, f4. So now you have the basic ideas. Now, if you notice, I haven't really showed you, you haven't seen this move yet, and it's not really played by higher rated players, and I'm talking about like 2600 and up. I've seen it a couple of times in the database, but so it's not one of the main moves. And I think this is where I think black should have stuck with the script and played, c5. Instead, black plays knight e4, and to me this is anti-positional in a way, because it does open up white's pieces. It shuts down this diagonal here, but it opens up this diagonal. So Magnus just takes, as he should. And now bishop c4, and we can see the knight, bishop here. Queen e7, a3, bishop d6, b4. And now this bishop is in a precarious situation because black really doesn't want to trade here because it opens up the f file. So this knight and bishop are kind of in the suspect position. f6 is not available because the bishop. So you can see how e4 kind of helped white more than it did black. I'm sorry, not e4, but knight takes e4. The exchanges that took place on e4 helped white more than it helped black. So knight f6. bishop b2. And even in this position, black has the option of playing on both sides of the board. It's just a matter of, your preference, or deciding which, which scheme has a better chance of succeeding. White could go for, the setup with rook c1 and building up on the c file, and trying to attack around these light squares, right? That's a acceptable plan. And also also white can go for the plan of trying to attack on the king side. G4, G5, the queen over there. Then he rooks to this file. Maybe sometime getting this move in. So white has options. Black, on the other hand, is kind of getting squeezed here, because again, that main move c5 that's so important is now, becoming more and more difficult, to play. For example, if c5 now, then d takes c5, b takes c5. Right now, the game starts getting a little dangerous here. Knight g4. What's the idea behind that? Well, if c takes d4, bishop takes d4, now you have this double attack here on the knight. What are you gonna do? Knight takes, queen takes, g6, f5, and now you can see the sleeping giant starting to wake up. This guy's pinned, threatening to take here, and then black has to be very careful here. I'm not saying he's lost or anything, but you really don't want that position. So c6, queen c2, and now we can see Magnus playing. He says, okay, you got the pawn on e4, I'm going to play on the queen side. And of course, this mixed with black's voluntary weakening of the position with moves like b4, it's a no-brainer. Like b5, it's a no-brainer. Bishop just drops back, because you always can move a piece back, but you can't move the pawn back. So now this is a big target. You got two pawns here blockading. So now white can just be patient. a5. And now here's some good strong play by Magnus here. So it looks like, his pawns are kind of in trouble here. He simply plays this move, a3. Now at this point, black decided to snatch a pawn, and black only thought for 4 minutes here. But wow, and the Grandmasters is handing you a pawn like that, you gotta really think about it. A takes b4, bishop takes b4. Alright. Rook takes, bishop takes. And of course, black would like to take with the rook, but then f7 is vulnerable. Again, this is as a result of this early knight e4 move. Bishop is on this diagonal. So he has to take with the bishop. This piece is really devalued, because not being able to get c5 in, this bishop is just biting up against granite here. Right, real bad piece. So now Magnus creates some tactics here. Okay, so watch this this bishop here. Of course, he can grab this pawn, and now knight d5, and black obviously missed Magnus's idea. He takes rook takes a8, rook takes a8, and now queen takes c6 with this. With this double attack on the knight and the rook. Knight c7, but then the problem is, as we shown before, the f7 pawn is vulnerable. Bishop takes f7, king h8, Now the glorious E pawn drops. Rook F8, D5, and now notice how all of white's pieces enter into the game. Rook takes F7, knight takes F7 check, and the bishop drops out of existence. Knight takes D5, and now Carlsen just has a winning advantage. So the rest of the moves really don't need any comment. And this is just brutal as Magnus just kicks the field goal when it's already 63 to nothing. So and the rest of the moves are really without comment. And here's where Birkesson resigned. And so good game. Again, he's 600 points down in rating. It's just that he just got caught out there. He ran into Carlsen. You know, and Carlsen's probably trying to make a statement anyway after he lost in the World Cup. But so he takes it out, on this guy. But again, this game is educational because there was a lot of plans involved, and I didn't have the time to show you all the plans from the black side. Black usually will attack on the queen side, like I said, with the move c5 and stuff. Forget about this move knight e4. That's not the way to go in this position, as you see Magnus demonstrate. And I know it's a strong player versus a weaker player, but again, if you just go on your database, you will not see 2,700, 2,600 players playing this move knight e4. You might find a couple of games, but most of the games are going to be between lower rated players. The moves to play are either c5 in this position, either c5 as Karyakin did, even though he lost, and or knight bd7. I'm sorry, in this position, either c5 right away or knight bd7. And then after f4, c5. It's important to get the counterplay in right away, because this setup is dangerous. It's like the old Pillsbury attack. This setup is dangerous, so black has to move fast and get this counterplay in. Like I said, this move right here is kind of not really in the spirit of the position. Another plan that black sometimes has too, but it's rare, is black tries to attack on the king side after his pawns get busted open like that. And then he'll scoot the king over and then try to use the G file. But that's like less common. The most common plan for black is this queen side attack. And also, so in closing, white's plan, again, one of the main plans here is this attack on the king side. Just think Stonewall attack, Pillsbury attack, whatever helps you remember. And also, black will play on the queen side of the board sometimes, as you saw in this Magnus Carlsen game. So it's very flexible, and black has to be careful in this line. So please like, subscribe, and all comments welcome. And hope you like this video. I'll talk to you later.